People ask me all the time, well, Amy, if you love cruising, then what's your favorite cruise ship or what's your favorite cruise line? And honestly, I can't give them a straight answer because out of the six cruise lines that I've sailed and the 13 ships that I've been on, not a single one of them have got it 100% right. And I mean 100% right to my taste. So, have you ever thought about designing your own cruise ship? Well, I thought we'd have a little fun today, and I'm going to put together my top 10 best items that I would love on one cruise ship altogether. And I'm going to pull from Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages, and Princess because those are the ones that I have sailed the most recent. Now, I have sailed Celebrity and Carnival in the past, but that was a really long time ago. And I'm going to cover the major points of a ship, including the size, the cabins, dining, entertainment, the all important casino, and the overall vibe and design of the ship. So let's get right into that list. Now, these items are in no particular order, but these were the top 10 things that were most important to me. So I would love to hear, do you agree on these, or are there other items that you find more important than I do? Now, let's get right in to number one, and that's going to be the ship size. Now, out of all the ships that I've sailed, I really loved the size of the Icon of the Seas, except I would reduce capacity by about 1,000 passengers. I have sailed on the Icon of the Seas when it was at maximum, not what they show on the brochure of about 5,600 passengers. We were at full and complete occupancy of about 7,600 people, and about 3,000 of those were children. It was crazy, but it still did an excellent job of dispersing people across the ship. I would say really my only pain point on that ship was the pool. But I absolutely just love, love, love the size of the ship because it just felt so spacious and almost didn't feel like you were on a ship at all. I barely felt it move even when we had some rougher weather. Now, second on my list, if I had to pick a decor vibe, I would pick the decor of the Prima class ships. I've sailed the Norwegian Prima twice, and I think it is just a stunningly beautiful ship. Now, I'm not talking about the style of the furnishings or anything else like that. I'm just talking about the decor, like the wall panels, the interior design of the staterooms, the color scheme, the carpets. I just thought it was so me that I just think it's such a beautiful ship, and I think it's so elegant, and I think it's timeless. Now, number three on my list, to be honest, actually really is one of my most important items, and that is the outdoor spaces and the comfort level. Now, I find that princess ships have the most amazing outdoor spaces for everybody. You really feel connected to the ocean. There's so many places that you can sit down comfortably and watch the ocean. And I found all of their furnishings inside and outside to be super comfortable. Now, when I was on Virgin Voyages, I hated everything about trying to sit down and relax anywhere, even in my cabin. Honestly, the only thing that I really found comfortable was that hammock on the balcony. But other than that, even Norwegian, for some reason, when I was on the Prima, I felt like all the furniture had been designed for someone 6'5" or above. Now, I'm only 5 foot tall, and I often sat down and felt like I was a child sitting uh, in a grown-up's chair. It was so crazy. I even had several times where they tried to seat me in locations that the seating was just so uncomfortable that I couldn't even lean forward to reach the table. And I think that was at the local when they tried to seat me outside. So I have to say that for me, I would take all of the comfort and the extra tables and loungers and all of the plush, comfy chairs from Princess in a heartbeat. Now, number four on my list is a really big item, and that is the public spaces. Now, I absolutely am in love with the promenade on the Icon of the Seas, but if it were my ship, I would definitely cut down on all that clutter that Royal Caribbean puts on the promenade, all of the stuff that they put in people's way that you just end up almost tripping over. That would be things like the sail racks or the booths that they put out that are right in your traffic flow. And look, I know they do that for a reason because they want people walking by and they want people purchasing things. But sometimes that just all gets a bit too much, especially when I was on the Freedom of the Seas. That was the most crowded feeling ship I have ever felt. It was really elbow to elbow anytime you tried to walk on the promenade. But on the Icon, the promenade is definitely way more open, and I love the two-level design. I would also love to have a central park on my ship. And honestly, I wouldn't cut it off like they do, where it's actually probably only about a third of the ship. I would love to have a deck end to end that is Central Park and maybe have like a relaxing oasis at the end of it, and maybe have kind of a shallow adults only pool that is decorated with vegetation and maybe a tropical tiki themed vibe. I think that would be really fun. And I would definitely add on a solarium from the Wonder of the Seas. I absolutely love that space. Now, I would probably redesign it a little bit because I thought the pool was a little bit weird. But I loved having an indoor space with such a fantastic view that you could sit back and relax. I'd probably add a bunch of elements from the overlook on the Icon of the Seas. I would love to have a much larger glass dome, but I would make it more handicap accessible. I would probably think to put in an escalator or elevator that people could control themselves without having to go get a crew member to be able to use the lift. And I would definitely include the piazza from Princess. I don't know what it was about the piazza, but I thought it was such a great idea. It was so fantastic to have a space that everybody could sit around and they had performances. Plus, there was food going on, and it was sort of a thoroughfare for everybody, but it was just a great overall entertaining space without people having to go sit in an entertainment venue. So I think I'd probably put that smack dab in the middle of my promenade. Now, I did love how Princess had all of their entertainment venues on one level. So that way, when you went down, there wasn't any question whether you're going to be able to find the lounge that you had. But I think the promenade kind of takes care of that. If you maybe put the music hall at one end and the theater at the other, and then keep all of that on the base level of the promenade, and then have the second tier, that open second tier for additional venues. As far as the theater goes, I really loved the Prima Theater on the Norwegian Prima. So I would love to have a Prima class theater because the theater did not have pillars blocking your view. Now, it wasn't the largest theater I've ever been in, but I loved that they had the retractable seats that then could turn into a dance floor. I think the seats were exceedingly comfortable and there were great views from every location in the Prima Theater. So that would be definitely what I would have on my ship. Number 5, let's talk about dining on a cruise ship. Now, this is another one that is super important to me because I like good food. I like simple food, but I like flavorful food. And I really like choices. And I don't necessarily like to be stuck always having to have a reservation 60 to 90, 120 days in advance. Sometimes my plans change at the last minute, and I want to be able to find a place that will accommodate me that has good food. Now, I would definitely have probably a double the size indulge food hall. I absolutely love that concept. I love being able to go in and sit down at a table and use a touchpad to order my food. Though I think the only one negative of that is the size that they have it on the Prima class ships. Now, I haven't been on the larger, newer ships, but on the Prima itself, it was way too small. And why are the plates so big? If we're ordering like tapas size, individual small serving size, I want a bunch of little plates so I can have a huge choice of what I get to eat in a meal. Now, I would also add in the Virgin restaurants because the food on Virgin is phenomenal. You know, there's always times when not everything's going to come out perfect, or you may not like a particular dish, but honestly, I thought the food was fantastic on Virgin. Now, also, I would love to see a Hudson style dining room like on the Norwegian Prima. Now, I know that they have them on the other Prima class ships where it is a very bright and light open dining room that has panoramic 360 views out of the back of the ship. It was pretty phenomenal. It was one of my favorite places on the ship, and I often ate in there breakfast, lunch, and dinner because the views were so fantastic. And I would also like to see a restaurant or two, like the local on the Prima class ships, where you can just walk in and get a table where you don't have to make a reservation so far in advance. And I loved the selection. And honestly, people, if you're not getting a hot fudge sundae from the local every single day when you're on a cruise, then you are missing out. So, number 6 on my list would be the stateroom. Now, I'm kind of torn between this because I really, really love my interior princess cabin where I had the sideways cabin where you walked into an open stateroom and then the bathroom was behind a wall with a very large open closet concept. Now, I know that that wouldn't work very well if you were trying to put that into a balcony room. But what I didn't love about Princess was that there were no sofas or love seat or a comfy lounge chair to sit in. Now, I don't spend a lot of time in my cabin, but when I'm there, I actually do really need a comfortable chair or a love seat to sit. So when I was on the Freedom class ships, when I was on the not the Icon, but on the Oasis class ships, and my rooms all had a small sofa, and that was amazing. I really, really love having an extra place to sit other than the bed or maybe the extremely uncomfortable stool that they give you in the cabin. Now, as far as the bathroom, I'm going to say the Prima class ships are the absolute winner for the bathroom cabin. I don't know what it is about the design, but the way that it was laid out, it had just a few extra inches here or there. And I wasn't hitting my knee on the toilet paper roll and knocking it on the floor every time I sat down. The toilet wasn't too high where I was pinching my legs because my feet were dangling off the toilet. The shower was actually a really good size, and I wasn't bumping my elbows every time I tried to wash my hair. So the Prima class is definitely the bathrooms that I would like to see on board my ship. Now, as much as I am not a big fan of the Freedom class ships, I really did love the desk area because it had a lot of drawers. And I thought the closet system was actually really great, but I would love to see a good amount of drawers in the closet as well. Now, if you're familiar with the Icon class of ships from Royal Caribbean, then you might know of the controversy of those silly wire baskets that they have in the cabin that not only make a horrendous noise when you pull them out, but then you can see everything that's in the basket. And for me, that is just something I absolutely do not want. I do understand that in some of the cabins they did it because there wasn't room for a drawer, and obviously it saves them money. But nope, drawers all the way for me. Oh, and a hammock. Absolutely have to have a hammock on the balcony or maybe even just in the corner if you don't have a balcony cabin. That would be so fantastic if we could just take that Virgin Voyages hammock and put it in the room. Oh my gosh. You just don't understand. Unless you've sailed Virgin, if you've sailed Virgin, then you would completely know what I mean. And now, number 7 on my list is going to surprise people who know me because you know how much I fuss about the Freedom class ships. But I really love the wraparound promenade deck that went all the way around the ship, and I could just spend hours and hours out there in those comfy chairs that they had and just watch the ocean. I also really loved that we had access to the helipad. It was so much fun at Sail Away to go stand up there and watch the other ships in the harbor as everybody was moving out for the evening. So number 8 on my list is the casino, someplace that I really enjoy spending time, and I would love to see the casino from the Legend of the Seas on this ship. Now, I know it's new, flashy two-story with a fantastic bar, and I would love to see a good seating area so people could go in there and socialize as well. But I would make a separate smoking section that was completely walled off because I have not been on the Legend of the Seas yet, but I am a little bit nervous about the smoke spillover. So we'll just have to see how that goes when I get a chance to get on board. But I absolutely would love to have that new flashy casino on my ship. So number 9, embarkation and disembarkation. I would absolutely love to have the Royal Caribbean process on my ship. I thought it was the easiest, the quickest, the least aggravating. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I never actually had a moment to stop And think about standing in line when I was getting on board any of the Royal Caribbean ships that I have sailed, even when there were 7,600 people getting on the ship. And to be honest, the Icon of the Seas was the ship that I got on the quickest. I didn't even have a second to think. It was just go, go, go. I really loved how the staff was not standing behind a desk. I just think it was more of a personal touch when the staff was out among all the passengers. Number 10 on the list. Now, this is by no means the least important item on the list. Now, this is the technology. I absolutely loved the Princess Medallion and I loved the wearable on Virgin Voyages. I actually loved the wearable a little bit more because I was able to just put it around my wrist. Now, next time I go on board Princess, I'm actually going to buy one of the little watch band clips that go on your watch and hold your medallion. So you don't even have to think about it. As long as you get up every morning and you put your watch on, you're always going to have your medallion on you. I saw a lot of people on my last trip on the Enchanted Princess had those and they absolutely loved them. They said they even forget that they're wearing them because they don't get in the way at all. And I really love the medallion technology. I love that my cabin door opened up for me as I was walking down the hall. And I absolutely loved that the waiters and waitresses on Princess knew who I was instantly because the medallions could be read at an instant. I loved the technology of the Princess app where I was able to use turn-by-turn directions. Now, I do have to say that on occasion it did get hung up a little bit and didn't refresh fast enough when I was actually walking, but it gave me enough information to get where I was going with no trouble. Now, I think I did end up liking Royal Caribbean's app the best, but there still were a few quirks. So I think I'd have to take all of the apps together and retool it and just make one better app. The things that I really love about apps is having everything at my fingertips, all of the schedules, knowing when and where I need to be, being able to reserve dining, being able to see the menus in advance. And I loved the turn-by-turn directions. I love being able to see the ship map. And I love being able to log in and see my onboard account. I think the technology has just come so far since I sailed my first cruise in the year 2000. Can you believe that? 26 years ago. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I would love to hear what you think about my top 10 list of what I'd put on my cruise ship. What would you put on yours? I would love to hear some of the fantastic items everyone's going to come up with. So have a fabulous day. I hope to see you out there on the high seas and happy sailing. Before you go, don't forget to check out my weight loss journey over at Amy Loses It. I go live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Just scan the QR code and it'll take you right to my channel. And make sure you check out my latest video where I celebrate my 70-pound loss. I also include a bunch of before and after photos, so make sure you check it out today.
Cruising through this journey, non-scale victories divine. But can Amy lose the weight without losing her mind? Move if you seek Amy K, find her